So I'm going to share screen. So I think I need you to enable me to share screen, please.
Does it work now?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sangham saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi sangham saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi sangham saranang gacchami. So as I chant the precepts, I'm going to pause after each one for a few moments to allow us to contemplate them, to perhaps read the English, or if French is your first language or another language is your first language, to say them to yourself in your mother tongue. And perhaps also to think, to reflect on what does it mean not only to practice the restraint, also the cultivation. What does it mean not only to refrain from destroying living beings, also to support life, to contribute to the fullness of life in ways that are available to you, in ways that you feel drawn to, that you feel a capacity for. Panatipata viramani sikapadam samadhiyami. Adinadana viramani sikapadam samadhiyami. Kamesu michachara varamani sikapadam samadhiyami. Musawada varamani sikapadam samadhiyami. Sura Maraya Maja Pamadatana Varamani Sikapadam Samadhiyami. Sadhu, 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 anumodami. Let's move into a posture for meditation. Whatever feels most supportive to you in this moment. Whether it's sitting on a chair, sitting on a bench or a cushion, or lying down, or standing. A posture which supports both ease and alertness. Finding in a very immediate way that sense of support, of grounding, being held by the earth, feeling in those places of contact, how the weight of the body is met by the pushing back of the form of the earth. That sense of solidity of the earth. And bringing an uprightness to the spine. So even if you are lying down, finding a straightness, an upward energy, like a flame. So relaxing and energizing. Aware of the in and the out breath. The whole cycle of the breath. collecting the attention around the body breathing. Coming home to a sense of this body. There is a body. The body is home base. If you find it helpful to narrow your attention to feeling the breath in a particular place in the body, or feeling the body in a particular place, if you find it helpful to gather your attention doing that, then by all means, let that support your arriving fully, mindfully in this moment. And at some point, I invite you to explore opening up the attention to include a sense of the whole body. Allowing the body to be known energetically. Knowing the body from awareness within the body, mindfulness of the body in the body. Not as a solid object with a fixed boundary, but a sense of the permeability, the energetic field of the body. Noticing sensation rising and falling. However this experience presents itself is fine. There's no right way. You might notice that some parts of the body feel more in shadow. Perhaps some parts of the body feel numb. Others may feel more full of sensation. allowing your sense of the body, exploring how you experience this. The body as a field of awareness. Finding the attention more in the knowing of the flow of sensation rather than in a particular sensation rising and falling. And finding the quality of calmness as you can, as this opens for you. The quality of ease in knowing sensations rising and falling in the body. Thoughts and images may also rise and fall. So I invite you in this particular meditation to come back to the flow of sensation in the whole body. Opening to an awareness and inviting calmness, inviting ease, stability of knowing sensations arising and passing away. As we come to the last few minutes of the practice, I invite you to take joy in the goodness of your practice. Not focusing on the many moments of the mind getting pulled away from presence in this moment, to the body, to the breath. Rather, grounding ourselves in the goodness of our energy to begin again. The joy of letting go, the moment of letting go of anger, of letting go of grasping, of letting go of spacing out and coming back and feeling and knowing, experiencing that fullness, the fullness of being in this moment, the timelessness of just this moment of life. This is a blessing. In Buddhism, we talk about merit. This is the merit, this goodness. And it's a tradition in Buddhist practice to share the merit, to share the goodness that has come alive in us, that has opened for us with all beings. One of the ways that we can think of all beings is in the Tibetan tradition, they talk about 3 realms, 6 states of existence in 3 realms. The realm of those who are experiencing a lot of pleasantness, primarily pleasantness in their lives, ease, comfort. And those come from many different conditions. They can come from the conditions of goodness, of virtue. They can come from just fortunate conditions of having abundance. It's not about judgment. And so we offer to share the goodness of our practice with those who live in relative ease and happiness. We offer to share the goodness of our practice with those who have a balance of pain and pleasure in their lives. There's ease and there's also suffering. And we also offer to share the goodness of our practice with those in the suffering realms, those whose life is filled with pain, struggle, want. And it's helpful to really think about who those people are, who those beings are in our lives, because they're often not beings that we find it easy to open our hearts to, because they express their suffering in ways that are abrasive and unpleasant. So can we particularly share the blessings of our practice with those beings who are angry, are full of want, are suffering, are perhaps disconnecting from themselves through addictions? Sharing the goodness, the blessings of our practice with all beings in all realms, and with the whole earth. May our practice and our lives serve and support the happiness, well-being, and liberation of all beings. I'd like to talk for a few minutes about the precepts as a whole. I'm going to put in a link which will show the 3 iterations of the precepts, and which we'll be working with over the next few months. Whenever you join us, just to have this accessible to you. And so I'm working in an interdenominationally Buddhist way. There are many different iterations of the precepts. And I think that this is one area where we can really draw from the different lineages, different streams, and even within each of the 3 traditions that I chose, the early Buddhist, the Zen, and the Tibetan Buddhist, there are many different iterations. So I just chose ones that I'm familiar with. But I invite you to explore more if you are interested. So talking about the practice of precepts, I'd like to bring in some very basic teachings that these are not rules. So because of our conditioning, maybe in other religious traditions, we think about ethical teachings as rules. And so for me, in my experience, when I think about rules, there's an immediate feeling of resistance because often in my experience, rules have been quite arbitrary and they don't make sense. Like, why? Why can I? And rules can be supportive. I don't want to disrespect that a framework of rules can be a supportive kind of practice. It's just not in the Buddhist kind of framework to follow rules because they're there, but they're trainings. They're trainings to help us wake up, help us to become more aware of the energies and the patterns that drive us into states of suffering and drive us to create conditions of suffering for others. So our precept practice is grounded in a sense of commitment to stop harming ourselves and others. And this is grounded or rooted in a wisdom view of the interdependence of life. That when I harm another being, I also harm myself. So there's a very strong connection with meditation, that I become aware of what is suffering, not in an intellectual level, but on or not just, but to experience that this is suffering, and that I recognize when I act out reactively, when I act compulsively, when I act aggressively, when I disconnect and space out and go into addiction, that I am harming myself, that this creates suffering, and that the suffering, when I'm suffering, it's not just me. We don't just harm ourselves ever, that we are connected, and our suffering inevitably spills out into the life around us, into our relationships, into the way we treat the environment, into the way we speak about people who may be different from us in some way, that we create a division in our minds between ourselves and others. So we're always harming others, and we're always harming ourselves when we are acting driven by the three poisons: greed, hatred, and delusion. So the precepts are really grounded in this view of becoming free of being driven by the three poisons. The precepts are so valuable because they are about the whole fabric of our lives. They're about each moment. And so it's a way of really bringing that integration of wisdom and kindness, awareness into every aspect of our lives, into how we greet our partner, or how we greet our colleagues or our neighbors, what we may choose to eat, how we may dress, how we may shop. So really bringing that questioning, that inquiry. And it's, again, it's not to create a sense of guilt or a sense of I must or I should. It's inquiring and exploring, how can I move more in the direction of non-harming? Because there is no perfection when it comes to the precepts. There is no complete and perfect. There can be, an orientation, a view. When we feel that we have, somehow perfected the precepts, then we're probably in delusion because there's life inevitably involves taking and harming, just walking, just driving somewhere, even going by public transportation involves harming. So it's really cultivating the sense of how can I move more towards respecting life, towards being generous, giving what I can, speaking truthfully, not lying, respecting the erotic nature of life, the erotic nature of the body, enjoying eros in a way that is wholesome and respectful. And this practice, I find, brings tremendous joy. It brings a sense of the word wholesome has whole in it. It has the word holistic has whole in it, has holiness in it. It brings this sense of wholeness to our practice, that I'm not rationalizing and saying, well, this really doesn't matter. If I am feeling conflicted about it, then it matters. It matters to me. So let me inquire. Let me be open to that sense of conflict. When we are practicing the precepts, practicing ethics in our lives, when we're practicing this sense of wholeness, of no part left out, we're always encountering ethical dilemmas. We're always questioning, like questions are coming up. Like, what's the best thing to do? What seems right? I'm not sure about that. What feels most respectful? What feels most generous? What seems to me to be grounded in an orientation toward clarity and not toward kind of muddying the mind or word is escaping me, clouding the mind, creating heedlessness. So, what are the ethical dilemmas that we're finding in our lives? And so bringing our practice into alignment. It helps us to see and engage our patterns, our expectations, that life should be a certain way, that my life should be pleasant. My life should be easy. Or my life, or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe it's a belief that, I don't deserve ease or pleasure in my life, that somehow my life should be full of suffering. And so that's also something that we encounter in our practice. One of the things that I've encountered in my own practice of the precepts is this sense of, like, rules are for other people. So it's this idea of rules, and interpreting ethical practices rules, and that I kind of think of it as my New York mind, like New Yorkers break the rules. So it's my New York mind. I grew up in New York, and it's like, yeah, like when I came to Montreal and I saw people waiting for the light to turn green to walk, I thought, why are they doing that? Isn't cars coming? Why are they waiting for the light to turn green? So it's like that attitude, like pushing the edge, like, and yeah, it's I've come to recognize that that's not a skillful attitude. And another attitude that can come in out of our practice is, well, it's all empty anyway. So, it doesn't really matter if I take that, even though I'm not sure I should, it's all empty. It doesn't really matter. And when we do that, we really disconnect from our inner wisdom. We're disconnecting from the heart, which is really showing us the way toward interdependence, toward wholeness, toward wholesomeness. And the last thing I'll say is that it's so important. Our meditation practice is so connected with our ethical development, because in our meditation, we find that space, that still point, that moment, that pause before we speak, before we act, to question, is this wise? Is this kind? Is this in alignment with my ethical view? So thank you for listening. I'd like to stop the recording now, and then